So literally 4 to 5 days before I'm supposed to close, this big bombshell hits me and I'm just confused and angry, upset, and annoyed. Hi honeys, and welcome back to my channel. Let's breathe. Today I want to talk to you guys about something that I've been wanting to discuss for quite some time now. I mentioned it in my last video. If you haven't gone to see that video yet, please see it. It's my reflection on 2020 and it's very personal and intimate, so check that out right now and then come back to this one. It is about my personal experience with as a first-time home buyer, and specifically how my purchase fell through like 7 days before closing. You might be looking at this video and saying, like, does this apply to me, or why is this video important? Well, this experience was really detrimental to my home buying experience because it made me lose a lot of money that I didn't want to lose, that I didn't plan on losing, that I couldn't have predicted that I was going to lose. So this is why I'm explaining to you exactly how my purchase fell through a week before closing. I'm still annoyed. And just to give this story a little bit of context, I am shopping for a home in North Carolina. I don't know where you are, so the laws and the rules might be different state to state, but this is North Carolina real estate. Okay, so where do I even begin with this long, crazy story? Okay, let's start with finding an agent. Okay, you have to interview your agents. Basically, you know how you go on job interviews and you have to make sure you answer the questions right? When you're talking to your agent, you want them to answer the questions right, and you want them to be logical, seem like they know what they're talking about. Check for their experience, check their credentials, but you also want to have a personal connection with your agent. You want to feel like you can talk to them about anything, and you can be transparent and you can be upfront without, like, you know, having little tips and stuff. The first real estate agent I interviewed, it was just hard for me to connect with her. I told her that I wanted to find a property. I told her my price point, and she said that she couldn't really envision that happening for me. She also said that there was going to be a lot of things that I have to give up to find the property that I'd like. Basically saying I would have to settle for the property because my budget was so low. So she got scratched out of the picture real quick. The next agent I found, I connected with her through Instagram first, and then we met in person, and I really liked her personality. She was easy to talk to. She was younger, so I was like, we're kind of connected in that way. So I liked her a lot. And when I was interviewing her, I feel like she gave me some pretty good answers. Of course, it was only my first time buying a home, so I didn't really know all the questions to ask, and that is gonna play out a little bit more as the story continues. Okay, so after you find your agent, or before, you can, you know, switch around the steps or whatever, you need to get approved for a home loan. So that's exactly what I did. I interviewed, or what do you call it? I shopped my loan, which means looking for different lenders, applying for the lenders and seeing what is the best interest rate you could get, how much money they can loan you, and what all their terms are. So I interviewed a few lenders, but I ended up going with Quicken Loans, aka Rocket Mortgage, or whatever name they want to be under right now. You apply online. It's actually pretty simple. And what made me really excited about Rocket Mortgage in the beginning is that the loan officer, she contacted me right away. She didn't waste any time after I filled out my application. I heard from her within the same day telling me that I was approved. Not just approved for any loan, I was approved for a conventional loan. The interest rate was pretty low, just given the times that we're in with COVID. So I was like ecstatic, you know, like she just felt like a second mom to me, the loan officer, because she was like, I'm so happy for you. I see your age, you're only 23 or 24. How old was I? I don't know, I was probably 23. No, I was 24. She was like, you're only 24 and you're going for a home and you're getting approved. Your credit score is amazing. Walked me through everything. She said that she practiced real estate in her past. So that kind of made me feel extra comfortable with her because I was sure that she knew exactly what she was doing. So now, finding the home. I found this home actually on Realtor, the app, because I get the app. You can set all of your qualification, or not your qualification, you can filter, you know, the search so that it gives you a notification every time a home pops up that meets your criteria. So that's what I did, and lo and behold, this condo popped up. And I was thinking, oh my gosh, this condo is perfect for so many reasons. One, it was freshly renovated. Okay, it wasn't like picture perfect, like 2020, all modern and like 100% fabulous. No, it wasn't that. But it was modern. It was modern in the sense like it had smart appliances. It had, the floors were all hardwood throughout the whole entire condo. The bathrooms had upgrades. So that is what made me really fall in love and start to love that home. Secondly, what made me, of course, gag, you know, is the price, because the price was a lot under my budget, and I was like, oh my gosh, renovated and under budget, like no brainer, of course, yes. And then third was the location. It was located really close to a university, so I thought, like, you know, me thinking ahead, as I wanted this to be an investment property, I was like, okay, I can rent this out without any issues. You know, I can go the student route, or maybe I can rent it out to a professor that's looking for somewhere to stay close to campus. So in my heart, in my mind, I thought, oh my gosh, this is so perfect. So I found the home. I was like, with my agent, I was like, okay, we gotta go see this home. So we went to go see it, and we submitted our offer. And then we got the notification that they actually went with a different buyer. They didn't pick me at first. They were like, somebody else, I guess, gave a better offer than I did, so they went with the other person. Makes sense. And right now, the market is really tough right now, so I was kind of expecting that, but I really did have high hopes. Anyways, a few days later, I get a text from my agent and say, oh my gosh, look at this. And it was an email from the seller of that condo saying, we want to go with your offer. The other buyer walked away. We want to go with your offer. So I was like excited, but I was also kind of nervous at the same time, because I wasn't really expecting that. I had kind of already set my heart on a different path, but you know, it came around and I was like, oh Jesus, miracles, yes. Okay, and what put the cherry on top with me finding this property is that when I did my contract with the buyer-seller contract, I told the seller that they would have to pay 50% of the closing costs and give me a home warranty. And right now in this market, a lot of people are saying no, like they don't want to do anything extra. They don't want to give you any money, like especially the sellers, you know, they don't want to negotiate. They're kind of just like, it is what it is. You either pay or you don't. If I can ask it, you know, how will I know? Wait, what is the saying? What's the saying? Ask and you shall receive. So that's exactly what I was doing. So after, you know, you agree on the contract, you know, you connect your lender so the lender can kind of take a look at the property and, you know, see if they want to give you the money still. And then there's another financial responsibility for you as the buyer that you have to do right away. Submit something that is called due diligence and earnest money, and they're two separate payments. Due diligence is basically your good faith saying that you 100% want to buy this house, so you're putting money towards this property. You're like saying, hey, I'm serious about buying this property, and this is the money you put up for it, so to show the seller that you're serious. Next is earnest money, and that's just for the attorney. So since the market is so demanding, we had to put a little bit more than you would typically put. So it was a good little penny that I had to spend just to secure this property. But the good thing about due diligence and earnest money, okay, it's basically like when you're getting your braids done and the braids cost $300 and you have to submit a deposit of $50, but the $50 gets subtracted from your total at the end of it. That's kind of how it works. My lender was excited for me. They agreed, you know, that they were going to let me borrow this money. And within the due diligence period, there were two things that I had to get done, which was the inspection and the appraisal. These are things you have to do. You want to inspect your home to make sure there's nothing wrong, ceilings ain't falling from the skies or nothing. And then the appraisal is to check to see, is this home really worth what the seller is asking? So at this point in time, everything is still 100% peachy. Everything's looking good for me. I'm convinced that I'm actually going to move into this house in December before Christmas, and I'm so excited. what was I gonna say? We got the appraisal back and it was spot on. We didn't have to renegotiate anything. We got the inspection back and there were just a few minor things, but we got the seller to agree to fix those things before proceeding. And then let's get to this pivotal moment, December 5th. December 5th is like a week before I'm supposed to close, or actually just a couple days. I think I was supposed to close on the 9th. So literally 4 to 5 days before I'm supposed to close, this big bombshell hits me and I'm just confused and angry, upset, and annoyed. I get this call from one of the people at Quicken Loans, and he tells me that he's a part of the solutions team. Now that right there kind of alarms me, because what are we finding solutions for? I thought everything was good. He calls me and tells me that he was like, are you familiar with the HOA of this condo? And I'm like, oh yeah, we talked about the HOA. I know you have to pay like a monthly fee of like over $100, but that's fine with me because it's a condo and you can kind of expect to have an HOA. Well, he was saying that the HOA is supposed to have a reserves account. A reserves account is like a savings account for the HOA. They're supposed to set aside money from the money that you pay them, set it aside and kind of save it for emergencies when an emergency comes up. So let's say there was a tornado that ripped off the roof of your condo. They need to dig into their savings, their reserved account, to kind of make those repairs immediately. Well, turns out they did not have a reserved account set up. So basically the HOA financial status wasn't good at all. And I didn't know this. It's like me being a first-time home buyer. This is what frustrated me so much, is because I didn't know any of this at all. And I'm just like, where was I supposed to get this information from? And the person who called me from Rocket Mortgage was saying this is going to affect the money that they can lend me. So this is about to change literally everything for me. And it's just like, why is this coming up only a couple days before closing? Why is this just now being seen and reviewed? So
what more do you want from me?
They were like, well, basically the only way we can lend you the money for the home or for the condo is if you give us a 10% down payment. 10% down payment? 10% down payment. 10% down payment. So like, for example, if the condo was $200,000, 10% down would be $20,000. Isn't that crazy? Like, who can afford that? Especially, we in a panoramic. We in a pandemic, so who can really afford that? And on top of the 10% down for the down payment, they were going to increase my interest rate. I have a conventional loan. It's the best loan out there. It's the gold standard for real estate, so the lender told me. And now all of a sudden everything's falling apart. I tell my agent, I'm like, here's the situation, here's what's happening. I'm not sure what to do. I think we're gonna have to walk away from this property. But if I walk away from this property, I am losing everything. I'm losing my earnest money. I'm losing my due diligence. I'm losing what I paid for the inspection. I'm losing the appraisal. I'm losing literally everything and my time. So I'm trying to talk things out with my agent, and I'm like, of course my agent can provide me with some guidance. And when this issue came up, it kind of seemed like there wasn't much that could be done to rectify the issue. Like, she just kind of kept saying like, oh, you know, there's not much we can do. There's not much we can do. And so now my head is spinning because the agent is supposed to be on your side. She's supposed to be on your team, advocating for you as the buyer. And if it's your first time buying a home, how are you supposed to know about a damn HOA reserve? You're not. Like, I didn't know that thing existed. How would I know that? How would I know? So it was kind of like the situation where I didn't know who to blame. Is it my lender, because they're supposed to check these things and make sure that the loan could be valid for me to go forward with? These are their terms, right? They're the ones changing things. Is it the seller? Should I be angry at the seller for not disclosing the HOA records up front with me and my agent? Because they actually had another buyer that walked away from this property before. They just said the buyer walked away at no fault of the seller, which is what a lot of times you'll see. But you might need to uncover. You might need explanations on explanations to figure out why exactly they walked away. It's really hard to find out why a buyer has walked away from a property if the seller is not being honest and truthful with you. So that was kind of like my thought process. I didn't know if I should blame the lender. Should I blame the seller's agent? Or should I be blaming my agent? My agent is the one who's supposed to cover me in any situation that pops up. And it turns out this is her first condo purchase. She didn't know the ins and outs of the condo and how it differed from a single family home or a townhome. So that is kind of like one of the biggest downfalls between me and my agent, is that she didn't know and she didn't disclose to me that this was her first condo. So it's like she didn't really know how to guide me, and I needed the guidance. I needed it, okay? So let's talk about how this whole situation gets solved. Basically what happened next is I ran back to Quicken Loans, Rocket Mortgage, and I told them, you know, there's no way that I'm putting 10% down. That's over, for me, it was over $10,000 that I didn't have just laying around. They got their solutions team involved with me, and the lady kept asking me, you know, is there anybody you know that has $10,000 that can lend you the money? Sis, no. And then it was really irritating me because the answer is no. No, I don't have it. She's asking me how close I am, how much extra money do I need. None of her business. But regardless, I didn't feel comfortable putting the $10,000 in anyways, and here's why. Even if I give you guys the 10% down payment, I'm still in the boat of the HOA is basically shitty. It's in a shit position. Like, and you know what that does to me when I go to sell my home condo in the future? I'm gonna have bad luck trying to sell my home, because guess what? The people that are interested in purchasing the home won't be able to get financed, just like I'm having a hard time getting financed right now. So a lot of the times I feel like they weren't looking out for my best interest. They really just wanted me to come up with this imaginary money and figure it out, and I couldn't do that. And I didn't know why they didn't understand I couldn't do that. So now I'm trying to figure out how I can get my money back that I've put in. At this point, I've invested over $3,000 into this property. Now that's a lot of money because I am using everything from my savings to get this property. I talked to my agent and I'm like, hey, you need to tell the sellers this, they should have disclosed this to us, and they need to give us our money back. They completely refused, which is completely legal in North Carolina, because it was after the due diligence period, the 2 weeks that you get to negotiate things. Of course, it was only 4 days, you know, till closing, so it was way beyond that period. And so they have the right to say, no, we're not going to give you your money back. And they did just that. Now I'm trying to get my money back, and I'm battling. At this point, I'm battling with my lender, because at the end of the day, the conclusion that my agent came up with is that it was the lender's responsibility to basically look into the HOA. They had all the information. They had the contract, which listed out the information of the HOA and their contact information, so they could do their research to make sure this is a home that they could finance. They didn't do that until 4 days before closing, and that's where the issue came about. If they would have done it sooner, I would have been able to get my due diligence back and my earnest money back within the 2-week window, possibly. They didn't do that though. They waited until the last minute, and then of course we ran into issues. She's basically claiming that she's like the highest level of Quicken Loans Rocket Mortgage Company, and that there was nobody else to speak to. Her only solution for me was to refund me my $500 deposit that I gave to them for the origination of the loan. That wasn't good enough for me. I'm $3,000 down the hole. You think $500 is going to make me smile again? No. So, of course, I strategized with my mother, the queen, and she told me that I needed to contact the CEO. She said, if you don't know the CEO's email address, all you have to do is find their name, get the format of the email addresses, so find somebody else from Rocket Mortgage that has emailed you before, so you know the @ Rocket Mortgage or whatever it may be, insert their name, where the other person's name would be, but insert the CEO's name and then at Rocket Mortgage, and you can find the CEO. That's basically how you connect yourself to the CEO. So I did that, and I wrote him a long email telling them how unprofessional they are and how I'm not going to be able to trust them going forward in the future, and how I'm basically just reaching out to see as a dissatisfied customer if I could get any of my money back. And I didn't hear back from the CEO directly, but I heard back from somebody who obviously was above this senior management team, who said that they were the top tier. He said that he would refund me everything. At first he said he would refund me everything, and then a week later he says he's going to refund me everything but my inspection. And his reason for not wanting to refund me the inspection is because he said the inspection was my choice to do. But first of all, I don't know anybody who's buying a home that's not new construction that's not getting an inspection. Literally everybody gets an inspection. You're not going to buy a home and not get an inspection, and then you move in and a week later the walls crumble down to the floor and there's juice leaking from the ceiling or something. Who gonna do that? Nobody. And he wouldn't do it either, so I don't even know why he wanted to be shady like that. I didn't get the money for the inspection back, which was almost $400, but you know, at the end of the day I did get majority of my money back. So I'm not saying that I'm satisfied or that I'm happy with Quicken Loans or Rocket Mortgage or the service I received. I'm actually very disappointed. I'm not going to use them in the future, but I was grateful to God for being able to get at least some of my money back. Okay, now let's get to pinpointing the exact issue where Rocket Mortgage effed up. Yes, I do know how exactly they effed up. So, this is a $40 billion company. How could they possibly make this mistake and make their customer lose thousands of dollars? It makes zero sense how this went down, but I understand everybody makes mistakes, but they really didn't take a whole bunch of ownership for the issue. Basically, when I gave my loan officer the contract, something went wrong. Somebody didn't enter it into the system correctly, but they did not enter this property as a condo. They entered it as something else. They entered it as a single family home. They dropped the ball because they entered the information in the system incorrectly. This is a condo, and when you get the contract, you get photos of the property. We talk about it being a condo because I know we talked about it being a condo because we talked about me getting wall-in insurance, and that is what you would do if you have a condo. So I remember that 100% clear as day, and unfortunately things still got screwed up on their end, and it ended up costing me thousands of dollars. I know this company has worked out for a lot of people in the past, but I just want you guys to be careful. It isn't your job to like double check or anything. It's 100% their job, but it's really good to have this information just so you can stay on your P's and Q's throughout this whole entire process. Well, honeys, in wrapping this video up, I just want to give you guys some quick takeaways just for a quick reference. You know, write these down real quick. 1, find an experienced agent. Make sure you interview them. Ask them specific questions like, what properties have they sold in the past? Have they sold a single family home? Have they sold a condo? Have they sold a townhome? Just so they will know some of the nuances that go along with those things. 2nd, find a local lender. I recommend going with a local lender instead of a big company because the local lenders are going to know more specific things to the area. If you're shopping for a home in North Carolina, if you find a local lender, they have, of course, tons of experience with North Carolina properties, getting them loans. That's what you want. 3rd, ask about everything. Even little questions that sit in the back of your mind, ask about them. Don't let them linger. If your agent isn't giving you information up front, literally push her to give you all the information that she can. If she can't, you can always go to the broker in charge, which is ahead of her, and they should be well more experienced and equipped to answer any of your questions. 4, don't be afraid to advocate for yourself. Just like that lady at Rocket Mortgage and Quicken Loans was telling me that there's nothing else they could do when there was 100% more that they could do. Don't be afraid to contact the CEO of any company when you're dissatisfied. 9 times out of 10, you will get exactly what you want, if not close to what you wanted. The last and final thing, but the most important, is to trust God. Of course, if God didn't give me this property, there's a reason for it. There's a reason I don't want it. There's a reason why he doesn't want me associated with it. So, you know, leave it to Jesus and just be blessed. You're going to find your home. You're going to find the property that is meant for you. So just stay positive, pray about it, and let things happen. I'm out. Until next time. Bye, honeys.
What do you have a comment? No, I ain't say anything. I didn't say nothing.